everyone. This is going to be our introduction to the major assignment 2 for College Composition 1. Our major assignment 2 is going to be a critical lens analysis. So we must first begin with what the critical lenses are, and that's what this video is going to do for you. So let's get started. First of all, what's a critical lens? It's a way to view a text and analyze it. Critical lenses influence the way you look at a work. Imagine you're standing in front of a wide selection of sunglasses of varying colors. If you put on green sunglasses, the world will become green. Pink sunglasses are going to give you rosy colors. X-ray glasses, well, you get the point. So a critical lens is essentially a way at looking at something. And when I say text, I mean anything that is written at some point. So that could be a play, that could be a movie, that could be a video game, that could be a novel, it could be a short story. There's all kinds of ways that you can use critical lenses, and you might find yourself actually applying critical lenses when you watch TV shows after we do this. Critical lenses give you something to focus in on and look through when you analyze something. So here are the lenses we are going to briefly discuss today. These are the 4 that we're going to focus on. I selected these because I think they cover a pretty wide variety of topics and ideas. There are many, many, many more, but these ones I felt were the most interesting. Okay, so our first critical lens is going to be feminist critical theory. So feminist critical theory doesn't just focus on women, though it does center around femininity and its expanding definition. So the feminist movement, as we know, started with trying to get the right to vote, but there's a lot of flaws in feminism in its waves, in that it doesn't always include LGBTQ plus people, it doesn't always include people of color, and it doesn't always include, the way men even behave. So it looks at how gender roles in the broad sense are characterized in a work and how society imposes gender roles and stereotypes on people. So not just for women, not just for men, but for everyone. It also examines what it means to be masculine and feminine and how works treat those that don't fall neatly into those categories. So just to explain, these are the types of questions you would ask. So are there traditional gender roles? So by gender roles, what I mean is the woman takes care of the house, the man goes out to work, right? The woman is a nurturer, the man is the breadwinner. That kind of gender role kind of thing. In a professional environment, it might mean that men get paid more. It might mean that women get paid less. It also might mean that men who are less masculine or macho might get treated differently as well. So what are the gender roles? Do characters in the book, in the text, in the movie follow these roles? And how would they view a character that did not follow traditional roles? So if they don't follow traditional roles, how are they treated by others? Is there a power imbalance between the genders of the characters in the film? Are there stereotypes of women or men in the work? What are they? What does this mean? So stereotypes meaning men must be strong, men must be stoic, men don't cry. And that women are very emotional. Women only care about relationships, like stuff like that. Stereotypes. How does a narrator or main character's gender role influence the way the work is portrayed? So remember that when we read something or we watch something, we often are watching through some kind of lens automatically. There's something framing it. So if we're reading a first person novel, that is very clear, right? We're literally seeing what's going on through somebody's eyes. But in a movie, it's different. So in a movie, we focus on a main character, but we're going to ignore a lot of the other things going on. So how might that character's way of viewing the world change the way the story is told? If it was told from another person's perspective, would it change in terms of gender role and how they view people of opposite genders? Okay. Our next one is queer critical theory. So queer theory takes feminist theory to a new level. So it's not just about gender roles as gender binary, male and female. It also examines heteronormativity. So the idea that heterosexuality is the norm and it's the expectation set upon people in society. Cisgender would be another thing. Being born a certain biological sex and then identifying with that, and that's the norm. And how that affects characters within the story. It also looks at how LGBTQ plus characters are represented and treated by other characters within the story. So in this way, some of the questions that we could ask are, does the text challenge traditional ways of viewing sexuality and identity? What ranges of male and female identity do you find in the text? Are there LGBTQ plus characters in the story? Are they portrayed accurately or as a stereotype? A lot of a very, very common gay man stereotype is flamboyant, right? Is this idea of having there's like a gay vocal affect. There's also, they're interested in fashion and they're whatever. So Titus and Dromedon from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt would be an example of that stereotype. So and it's this idea that like a gay man can't be anything other than this kind of like flamboyant kind of character. Lesbians might be portrayed as butch, and that's different, right? So those are the kinds of stereotypes you'd be looking for, something like that. Socio-economic critical theory. Socioeconomic critical theory focuses on the social structures within a capitalist system. This was originally from socialism from Karl Marx. It has since grown and developed to looking at the problems inherent within a capitalist system, but really within any socioeconomic system that causes hierarchies within them. So, for example, you could use socioeconomic critical theory to even criticize communism in that it doesn't fulfill what it should, that it doesn't make people equal in the way that it wants to. And it analyzes the text for the complications that capitalism and other social hierarchies cause by looking at class hierarchies, so upper, middle, lower classes, wealthy versus working. In terms of the socialist kind of ideology, it would be bourgeoisie and proletariat, and unequal distribution of wealth between classes. So, for example, in the US, a large amount of wealth is in the hands of a very, very small percentage of people. So that would be something that you would look at. And if we were, say, looking at the Great Gatsby, they would be one of those people, right? Those people that old money. Awesome. Questions to ask when reading through this lens. What role does class play in the text? How does class affect the characters and actions they choose? Could even be look. Some characters might be able to just do whatever they want because they have plenty of money. They don't have worries. But other characters might be guarded or less likely to just be spontaneous because they have to be worried about family and money and whatnot. What characters have money? What characters are poor? What are the differences between them? Does money in this story equal power? Are some classes seen as better than others? So that question is kind of vague because it could be in the way that they're dressed, in the way that they're treated by others. There's all kinds of options available there. Um, our final critical theory is going to be multicultural critical theory. So multicultural critical theory focuses on the ways ethnic and racial groups are treated and portrayed in texts and in society as a whole. It analyzes racial and ethnic stereotyping, appropriation, and looks at power dynamics between ethnic and racial groups. It will also look at the ways in which the society has treated groups in the past and how a lot of things can come from that. And it kind of there's a focus on violence, on how certain treatments of groups can be seen as violent, but not in like the traditional physical sense, but in the traumatizing, triggering kind of sense. So questions to ask when reading through this lens: what racial and ethnic groups are represented? Are BIPOC characters portrayed accurately? Are there racial or ethnic stereotypes? How do other characters or different racial or ethnic backgrounds interact with these characters? Are certain races and ethnicities given more power than others? So you're really going to be looking for how they're treated. You're going to be looking for how they interact with whatever the majority is, depending on the film. So, like, if we're watching a Korean drama, it's going to be Korean people that are going to be the majority. If there is another racial and ethnic group in that, then it's how they're interacting with the Korean majority. In our case, it's going to be how BIPOC characters are treated by um, white persons and how that interaction functions. So if we think back to Stranger Things and nostalgia, the two articles we read, White Nostalgia by David Baring Porter would be an example of using a multicultural critical theory lens. He takes Lucas and Kali and analyzes the way that the other characters treat them, analyze the ways in which society functions in the 80s as well compared to today. Familiar Things, Straight Nostalgia, and Snowball by Aviva Briefel would be an example of using a queer theory lens. So it looks at the heteronormativity of Snowball. It looks at the way Will is portrayed. At some point, it tries to analyze Eleven as being queer. I'm still not sure. I still don't think that she's shown signs of that, but so it kind of analyzes the way they're treated. If you were to go further, you would look at, in season 3, you would look at the way that Robin is portrayed and treated, and how what's his face, I can't remember his name, kind of pushes that heteronormativity idea on her, thinking that she was jealous of this other girl for him, and then it's revealed that she was jealous because she wanted the girl. That kind of thing. So what will we be doing with this? Step 1 is choose your fighter. So you'll pick a lens to research and get to know one of these 4, unless you want to go off the rails and find another. Just clear it with me. You can do that. You just have to talk to me. So there's psychoanalytic, there's new critical theory, blah, blah, blah. You'll do some research. You'll create a brief infographic to explain what it is and how to use it. This is a loose group project. So more or less, it's going to be, you'll be in a group with other people that are doing the same lens, and you'll kind of look things up from there. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that every person has a role. You could just have one partner. You could just do it by yourself, more or less. You could do your own. It all depends on how you kind of work with others. Step 2 is practice using the lens on a short story. So we'll read something very brief. I might pick different ones, but I'm not sure. And you'll apply your lens and analyze it. You'll write a brief analysis to practice using the lens. And then step 1 and 2 will culminate into your critical engagement assignment. From there, we'll watch a movie. So with your knowledge of the lens, we'll watch a movie and you'll take notes throughout to analyze the film. We'll probably work on some kind of note-taking sheet, just so that way you have an idea of what you're looking for, and ways to analyze and things. And the final step is to write a lens essay / critique of the film. So you're going to write an essay that dives deep into the film based on your selected lens, where you'll compare the things the movie succeeds in doing and falls short of doing. It's not going to end up being presented as necessarily an argument, but you can look for the deeper meaning behind the film based on this lens. So what is this movie saying about queer people? What is this movie saying about multiculturalism or socioeconomic status or such and so on? And that's your final step. So it all is going to culminate into writing a lens essay. Just so we're aware, this is going to have a very quick turnover. So you need to make sure that you're on top of everything. And that's it. So feel free to answer the questions on the Google form, and I will see you on Monday.